Shalom and welcome to a LightKey training. This is just going to be a simple how does LightKey work, fixture properties, and how to create cues or scenes. So start off, this is what you'll see when you log into the computer. LightKey, hard to miss, but disco ball. We're going to want to go down to the projects and we're going to want to be this GCC project here. And we're going to be given this screen here. We're going to want to go to either Sunday morning service or song library. It doesn't exactly matter although it does depending on what you're doing, but regardless, this is where we are. So all of the fixture properties are on this right hand side here. So if you want to make a change to a certain scene or a cue, these are cues here. So this background cue, welcome and announcements cue, message cue. So what's cool about LightKey is that whatever your fixtures are doing, it's reflected on this screen here. So you can see that these lights aren't doing anything. These lights are green, they're looking out. These lights are blue, green looking out, green looking out. You can see that these lights are not illuminated, but there's a gobo here. You can see the house lights, these are all illuminated. But essentially all a cue is something with a list of commands. Think of the lights as very simple computers, and they need commands on what to do without screwing up. So as you can see here, the key lights, these are these lights. So this will be the first truss closest to where you are. This has all like the tube looking lights. Next up is the pars. So these are all the lights that look like they're consisted of 10 bulbs. They're smaller and they just project a lot of color. Next is the LED bar. These are the lights underneath the LED wall. These are the vertical ones. Next are the fuse. So these are also called wash lights. So there's two on the stage. There's two hung up over the stage next to the pars. And then there's supposed to be two, but one was taken down because it's broken. But there's one just above the back LED wall. Next we have the floor spots, and these are the spotlights underneath the LED wall. And then we have the back spots, and these are the spotlights just above the LED wall. Over on this right hand side, these are what I would call our functions or our commands. So all of them are kind of segregated into each section of the light. So you can see the key lights. Each of these commands only do something with the key lights. So for example, these substage lights, these are the only lights that light up the substage. These are lighting up the main stage. The lights are off. The lights are slowly coming up, sort of up, a little bit softer, and then this is max brightness. Not max brightness, but the brightest that we want to go for the singers and for live stream. Same thing with the pars. These ones are sorted a little bit more creatively and freely, where we can choose a brightness, and also we can choose a color. But since we don't have any of these commands in a queue, they aren't really going to change any color because there's no brightness here. There are extra par lights here that I hung up around Christmas time. These are called the American DJ pars. They have the same list of functions here. Next up we have the LED bar, same thing, intensity, color, and then it also has color effects. The fuses, this is where things kind of get a little bit more exciting because we have brightness, color, there's movements, and positions. So movements just describes like, hey, the lights are moving in this way, while positions move the lights to a fixed spot. So these are essentially just fixed positions that these fixtures will look at. So if you look here, you can see that there's a color assigned to these. This was a result of a bad setup. So we could actually just edit this and get rid of these color commands. That way it's just a position. Same thing, we don't want this here, we actually want this in color. And I'll just get rid of this because we don't want that. So these are all positions. If you want to change a position, my best suggestion would be to have a cue created and then duplicate one of these. That way you have a cue that already has a brightness in there and you can see what the movements are doing, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. The floor spots, it gets just a tiny bit more complicated because these fixtures can do quite a lot. So we can change the brightness, we can change the color, we can change the position, and we can change the gobo, and the focus, and the zoom. We could technically do that on the fuses, but we don't exactly utilize that very much, but we do with these spotlights, and both the floor spots and the back spots do. There's also rotations, so it's a moving gobo. A gobo is essentially just something that blocks and disperses the lights. So like the circle of 10 beams, you can see that there's a little block here that's creating 10 beams of light. Now there's one that makes it look like a flower, a biohazard, a prong, a windmill. And if you want those to move, you could go to these rotations and say, hey, I want you to move, and they'll move. And lastly is just the house lights. And the house lights are pretty simple. So I have these kind of separated into two sections. There's the main house lights, and then there's the perch house lights, or there's all lights. And I really only use this for the SM8 desk station. Okay, so first up, let's just create a queue. And what I'll do is I will just create an empty queue. So I am under the Sunday morning service set. I'm just going to right click and create a new queue, and I'll just call this practice. And to add any of these settings to this queue, I just right click get info, and you can see it's an empty queue. So we can drag presets or sequences here. So I want this to be a preaching set, but with red. I don't know. I'll just start putting stuff together. So I want the stage lit up, so I'll go to the key lights, grab one of these. It could either be the 2025 preaching or the worship full. Okay, so we have those. Oh, it's dark in the sanctuary, so I will grab either one of these background house lights or announcement house lights. It just lights up the sanctuary. We can see now it's bright in the sanctuary as is reflected here. I want the pars. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. I want these to be turquoise. So we have a color, but oh no, they're not on. Well, guess what? We need an intensity. Bam. I want the ADJ pars to be I want those to be red. And look, now they're lit up. The LED bar, I want that to reflect the color of turquoise. The fuse. So this is where things can get interesting, and it'll work in your favor or it won't. So when I design a queue list, I want everything to be assigned a function. So if I know I want something to move at some point in the service, I will have a position automatically, or not automatically, but I will have a position assigned to every fixture of light. That way it doesn't move erratically. Because if in one queue it doesn't have a position, but in another it does, what will end up happening is the fixture will just snap. It'll snap to whatever the new assigned one is. It won't fade, no matter if you have a fade time on there, it will just snap. So no matter what the use case is at this moment, let's just do the home position. And these I want to be a little bit dimmer. So I'll just combine these two colors here, or these two brightnesses, and it'll do the median of those. The color, I want these to be like a red/pink. And let's see, we have the position there. Let's look at the floor spots. So spotlights would be quite inappropriate right now, and unlike the rest of the fixtures, the spotlights change color by, I'm not exactly sure how it does it, but if I had to guess, it was by moving a colored sheet over top of the LED. So when it changes color, no matter when or where, it's fairly obvious. But the default color is white, which is typically what I use for most presets or cues. So I'll just leave the color alone. I will also leave the intensity alone, but I will assign a position. And I'll just put that at full ceiling. And same thing with the back spots. They follow the same kind of principles as the floor spots. They change colors very dramatically. They change gobos very dramatically. So I will just make sure that they have a position assigned. And we'll just tell them to be at the home position. Now, if I did want to use a gobo, I would want to make sure that, especially if it's in a song, I would make sure that the light is first off, and then in the next cue assign the gobo, and then in the cue afterwards bring up the brightness. That way it kind of fades into the gobo already being there and not just being assigned, but that's for creative discretion. So here we have it. Now we have an entire list of cues that have all of the color, position, brightness, whatnot presets assigned to it. And if I were to use this as kind of a template for a song, all I would do is I would just duplicate it and rename it. So if you're going through a song and creating song lists, I would just duplicate this. That way you're not starting from scratch. All you have to do is change your parameters within here by right-clicking and removing, or just combining it with other presets here. But this gives you the ability to not have to start from scratch over and over and over again. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about changing a preset or creating a preset. So let's say that there's something within these positions here. Let's just go for the fuses, so these wash lights. Let's say that there isn't a position assigned here that I particularly like. The easiest way to do this is to do this within a cue. So I have a cue here, and the reason why is that when we change a specific part of a preset, we don't want to add any foreign elements. And by that, I mean, remember earlier when I deleted all those ones with color and brightness applied to them? We don't want any of those here in position. All we want is position here. And because we're using a cue, the light is already turned on and it has a color assigned to it. So I'm going to right-click this. I'm going to click Show in Palette. Hey, look, here it is. I'm going to duplicate this. That way, all of these fixtures are already selected. I know which ones I'm editing. I'm going to rename it, whatever I want to call it. So let's just call this a wash. We want this to just wash the sanctuary with color. And I'm going to start changing these positions. So I'm going to right-click the fixture. In here, so let's say we wanted to change the color. We would be up here in color. We could change color. Or if we were in intensity, we could change the dimmer. If we were in movements, we can assign a movement. But since we're working on position, we're just going to go to position. And this is just for this one fixture. Remember, there's technically 5, but there's 6 fixtures here. So I want this to kind of look at the wall, kind of look upward, not really blinding people, and I want it to be, no, that's too low. I want it to be there. Now another cool thing you could do is with the light on the opposite side of the stage is you can copy the position and invert the pan. So I'll go to position, paste, and I will just invert the pan here. So I will go a full 180, maybe not a full 180, depending on where exactly the light's looking, but I really just want to try and match at least the tilt, the up and down. And then same thing with this fixture, change the position. I can copy this and paste it to the other side of the sanctuary. And I will just invert. And for this last one, I think I'll leave this one where it is because it's kind of acting as a kick light. So now we have just created a new cue. And if we look at what's done, because we're already within the cue, sorry, we just made a preset. Because we're within a cue, we didn't affect any of the color, any of the intensity, but it does give us kind of a look at what the fixtures are doing where without modifying the color. So now I'll just add this wash here and get rid of home. So that's just a quick and easy way to change something. Let's go for the spotlights, for example. So the spotlights are an interesting case because some of the lights share the same fixture number. So you'll notice that in LightKey it'll look different, but on the in-house you'll see that some of the fixtures move together. So let's show in palette. Let me first put an intensity on here, that way I can see what I'm doing. And let's just duplicate this guy, and we'll call this test. And now I will start changing the position here, just the position. And see, this one isn't changing anything in-house. So this one does nothing. Let's see what this one does. This one is also changing nothing. Here we go. Okay, so this center light does change position. I'll just put this one at 60 degrees. And so this light, the one to the right of the middle, is daisy chained to the one on the opposite side, so the left one here. And I'm assuming this one is going to control this one, in which I am correct. So just keep that in mind. If you want to change any parameters, it is these three lights. This one's by itself. This one is daisy chained to this one, and this one, not daisy chained, but they share the same address as this one, and same thing with this one and this one. So I'll just update that. It's just a funky position, but I didn't change anything outside of just the position of this fixture. I think that's going to wrap this up. This is a very broad overview. I really don't want to go into building song cues. You can go to the song library, see how it works. There is a bunch, and by a bunch, I mean there is a bunch of songs in this, of songs that we've done. There is there's actually two huge binders full of chord charts with these cues to follow through. But I don't want to put a design philosophy in your head. It is all to creative discretion. So I'm going to stop here. This is for the Sanctuary at Greenville Community Church. Hope this helps. If you're someone else watching from somewhere, hopefully this helps ease up your LightKey flow. So thanks for checking in, and hope this helps your ministry.